All right, I'm going to talk about some common issues on the John Deere 4000 series machines. These machines don't really have a lot of major issues, but after 20 years, any machine's going to have some minor issues here and there. And I'm going to go through a list of what I feel are the most common. I've owned several of these over the years: the 4200s, the 4210s, the 43s, the 4310s, the 4400s, and the 4410s. So I've owned all of them, and I've definitely had a lot of time repairing these and getting into stuff that's been kind of left unfixed over the years from somebody who owned it for 15, 20 years. So hopefully this is helpful, but the main thing on these, and everyone's gonna say this, is the plastic, right? The plastic on these machines, the hood, the side panels, the cowl, they're just the biggest pain and the biggest problem because they break and they crack, right? And that's not a real big deal from a functionality perspective, but when the paneling starts to crack, if you let it go and you don't kind of reinforce the back of the panel, pretty soon the panel falls apart, and then you have to replace the entire panel. To replace all the panels on a machine like this has become a lot cheaper over the years, because there's a lot of aftermarket companies that make the aftermarket panels for these that look factory and look like the OEM ones. And I want to say you could probably repanel and rehood the entire machine for $1,000 in parts, which honestly is not that bad. So if you've got the skills to pull the panels off, which you can do it very easily. So pretty much anybody has the skills to change the panels in the hood. You can do it yourself, and it's about $1,000. Typically, when I get a machine, anywhere from hood to one or two of the panels is cracked, so I'll just replace whatever's cracked. And then if it's cracked in a spot where it's functionally not a big deal, but if it goes any further, it could fall off the machine, I'll take a crack like this and I'll just put some Gorilla tape behind it. And it's a wide piece of tape that's super strong. I'll do 2 layers, and that it'll never go anywhere, but of course you still have a crack. So obviously if the crack is a big deal, you got to replace the panel. But that's usually what I do. If it's not too far gone, I'll tape it from the back with some heavy duty Gorilla tape or duct tape or something like that. You're not going to see the tape, so it's not a big deal if it doesn't match the green. But that's usually the biggest issue on these is the plastic, right? That's the big one. The other kind of real common issue on these, actually it's really common, is the blinkers or the hazard switch. So there's a relay switch on the dash for the directionals, this guy here, and this is like almost always just doesn't work because there's a electrical relay with a box underneath the panel here, and that over time goes bad. And that's true for like cars and stuff like that too. So relays don't last forever. That's usually always bad. And I want to say that relay box is about $100 to replace it. The handle comes off with a screw, and you can just change the relay. There's a plug for the harness underneath. So that is 9 times out of 10, that's something that doesn't work. And that controls the lights, right? The turn signals and the hazard lights, if you want to put those on. So that's probably number 2 as one of the major things, not major things, but the common things that's going to be wrong with the 4000 series machines. Number 3, I would say it's probably going to be the knuckles. So the knuckles on the machines, and pretty much any machine has a common spot on a knuckle where the seal will just start to wear out, and once that happens, the knuckles will start to leak. So I think one of these was leaking, and I probably changed both seals on both sides of the knuckles. So that's a real common thing. You can do it yourself for not that much. I want to say the parts to do the entire knuckle is less than $100 each side, and they're not that hard to do. There's a lot of videos out there where people have shown how to do this, and when you do the knuckle seals, take your time the first time, but once you do it once, you can do it 100 times. It's not complicated. So that's number 3 on the most common issue on the John Deere 4000. I would say the next real common thing on the 10 series, so the 4210, the 4310, and the 4410, is going to be the steering column adjustment mechanism, this guy here. So this thing is always stripped, right? So this is how you would typically adjust this the proper way. And over the years, what happens is people use the steering wheel to get on and off the machine to kind of hoist themselves up off the seat. and there's an aluminum mechanism under here with a bunch of slots and grooves where it just rests in the position you want it in, and that strips out like immediately within. And I think there's a bunch of recalls on that when they first built these machines, and they changed the designs and they went through a different design over the years. But long story short, number 4 is going to be this adjuster. That is usually, it has a couple notches broken, so you'll go to adjust it and you'll have like only 2 positions, and it has like 6 positions if it's brand new, but it'll have like 2 positions left, and typically the positions left are not the most desirable. So you're kind of forced to fix it or live with it, and the steering wheel will flop around on you and stuff like that. This one was bad. I went through it and fixed it, so there is a video on my channel, takes you through how to fix this. I want to say it's less than $100 to fix it on that. And I think that's really the majority of the minor, I would say minor issues. And there's really nothing else that I can think of that really goes wrong on these. So that's going to cover the list of things to look for. Perhaps maybe if you're going to buy one, to see if you're going to have to put some work into it. Maybe another common one on the back hose is the stabilizer seals. Those are real common, that they will start to sweat and then they'll start to leak a little bit over the years. So backhoe stabilizers, those are super common. And the way these are set up on the John Deere's, the 47s and the 48s, is that there's an O-ring. There's an O-ring around the top cap on the outside here. So the O-ring is not super strong, and once it starts to shrink or distort, it leaks a little bit there. So that's a common issue on the stabilizers and the backhoes. The other thing perhaps you could say is common, obviously on a lot of tractors, is the seats, right? The seats are always pretty much destroyed because either they've been out in the sun or people have, left a rip in it and it's not taped, and the water gets in there and it just rusts the seat out. So most of the time I'll change out both the backhoe seat and the main seat, just because that's something that is really common too on all tractors, I would say, not just the John Deere's. So I think that would cover it. So that's my list on the John Deere 4000 series. Hopefully this is helpful to you. If you're going to buy one, you can know kind of what to look for, and it'll be helpful.